Alright guys, welcome back to another video. And in this video, we are going to be continuing on with our HTML tutorial series. And in this tutorial, we are going to be covering the basic HTML5 template that Visual Studio Code provides us. And we're going to kind of go over what all that code means on a very basic surface level, because throughout the series you're going to learn a little bit more about what these different tags do, but for now we're going to go over them in a very basic level. So to start off with, when you open Visual Studio Code or whatever editor you've got, you're going to want to create a new file and save it somewhere. So I have an index HTML file here. The index is generally speaking best practice for your initial your initial website entry point. So index HTML is what we're going to use here. And so you can see I've gone and increased the font size, so hopefully you guys will be able to see it a little bit better. There. Okay. Now, in order to get the basic template, go ahead and do an exclamation point, and it brings up a suggestion list. Hit Tab. And here we are. This is our basic template. It's pretty simple, really. Pretty simple to get in every web page. So you just do the exclamation point, focus on the first thing in the suggestion list, and then hit Tab, and it generates it for you. Pretty nice functionality there. So let's go over this. First line is doctype HTML. Now, what is this? Well, this tells the browser that we have an HTML5 document. We didn't used to have this. Before HTML5, this wasn't something that was generally speaking used because it didn't exist yet. But this tells the browser, hey, this is an HTML5 web page, so treat it like it. Next, we have our HTML tag with a lang attribute with EN. Now that's EN stands for English. If you're in a different part of the world, that may be different. But where I am, I'm in an English-speaking country primarily, so the lang attribute is set to EN. And when you open your web page in a browser, right, the browser looks at the lang attribute and says, okay, what language should I display this web page in? And if it's EN, it'll display it in English. Now, the nice thing about browsers like Google Chrome, for example, is it will try to translate the page into whatever language it has set in the lang attribute if you allow it to do so, which is nice. And so that's kind of why that's there, to give that extra functionality. So next we have our head element. Now this head element, like the HTML element, has a closing tag down at the bottom. You can see, like, for example, less than sign / HTML, and same thing for the head. These are elements that can contain children, and the head element essentially allows you to provide different metadata for your page, for like the title, whether to make it a responsive web page, where you can define some style sheets, some scripts, stuff like that. Now, next we have a meta tag. This meta tag allows you to define various kinds of more specific metadata for your page. So, for example, this first meta tag that we have here is what we use to set the character set. So in this case, we are setting this the character set for this page to UTF-8. You can do UTF-16 or whatever else you may need if you're going to use emojis for whatever reason. But by default, it's UTF-8. Now this next meta tag, this meta tag defines some header metadata. It's not super important. If you want to go more in depth into what it does, you feel free, but we're not going to really go into depth. We're not going to really go in depth into what this means for now. Now, this meta tag, the next meta tag, with the viewport and all that stuff in it, that tells this metadata tag tells the browser, hey, this is a responsive HTML5 web page. So we're gonna make sure that this looks good on all devices. And this meta tag doesn't really do everything for responsive design out of the box. You really have to write your CSS in such a way that it works in tandem with this tag to make everything look good. It's not like a toggle switch or anything of that nature. So you have to. So as you learn, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to do a lot of the work yourself. You have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And so now we have our title. This element is exactly what it says. It's a metadata type tag that essentially sets the title for the page. So when you are in Chrome or Firefox or even Edge, any browser, this title will show in the tab bar. If you're on iOS and you open the tabs screen in Safari, this title will show below the preview of the page. So that it's very important that you have specific titles for the pages too, because with those who use screen readers, when they open your page or they focus on your page, if they go to your page from another tab or another window, the first thing they'll hear is the title of the page. The title is also important for search engine optimization. So in Google, when you do a Google search, all the different page titles that you see as search results, that comes from the title tag. So in general, really, all these metadata tags in the head element, these are all very important for search engine optimization. We'll take a little bit more in depth look at that later on, but just keep in mind that these tags can determine your search ranking in Google or Bing or whatever search engine. And that's the end of the head element. Next, we have the body element. Now in the template, in this template, the body element is empty, but this is where you put all your page content, like your headers, your navigations, your buttons, your input fields, your footers, all that stuff. All that stuff goes in the body. And so with that, that's pretty much the basic HTML template. It's nothing too complicated, really. And like I said, we'll go more in depth into the individual tag types in a future video. But that pretty much does it for this one, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.